passed. These are the final moments of Reed Murdoch, written in his own words. My Disconnected Life. Blog author, Reed Murdoch. October 16th, 2014. Hey guys. So I've decided to start a new blog about my new life. Most of you reading this are probably my friends and acquaintances, but for the rest of you I'll expose a little bit about myself. My name is Reed. I just moved out of my stupid parents' basement, thank God, and now I'm pursuing my own life where no one can push me around anymore. Technically, I'm the one who ditched the place, but they are all but kicked me out beforehand. No one gives a damn about a crackhead like me. Not even my parents. Not that I care. Anyways, I'm doing my own thing now. I had to give up a few luxuries. My mom's hellacious cooking, not worthy of being called a luxury. I'd much rather live off of discounted ramen noodles anyways. Sometimes I'll even have corn on the side when I'm feeling extra fancy. Speaking of fancy, I'll admit my apartment is anything but. It's the cheapest one I could find, in fact. I find the saying, "you get what you pay for," to be especially true when I'm trying to sleep to my lulling sound of what I can only guess is some old lady getting mugged in a dark alleyway next door. My ghetto sanctuary consists of one living room, a kitchenette, a bathroom, and a closet. The walls are practically made of cardboard, and the carpet is stained with God knows what, but it's good enough for me. Living with me is my poor excuse of a cat named Twig. She's one of those weird hairless breeds, and in turn a real conversation piece. I'm often asked why the cat's turned inside out, or if she was the victim of some perverse taxidermy project gone wrong. As shoddy as my life seems, living on the cheap has its benefits. My cost of living is next to nothing, so I can make enough money to survive by doing odd jobs on the internet without ever leaving my house. I spend half the month writing bogus reviews for products I've never used and filling out surveys on political issues I know nothing about. Then spend the other half surfing the web and watching pirated reruns of The X-Files. I don't even have to pay for the internet service, thanks to my neighbor's complete failure to secure their Wi-Fi hotspot. I bet their data overages are through the roof now. Oh well, not my problem. I'll be updating this blog every day or two, if I'm up to anything interesting. Thanks for reading this boring crap. Hopefully my life will get a little more exciting in the days to come. Read. October 18th, 2014. I've decided to do something unusual. It's 3 a.m. and I intend to stay up all night, caffeinated beverages at my side. Why am I doing this, you ask? Because I'm permanently switching to a nocturnal sleep schedule. In other words, I'll be sleeping during the day instead of the night. I have a good number of reasons for doing this. 1. There's less people out at night, so leaving the building won't be such a dreaded thing. 2. Sunlight gives you cancer, right? 3. Screw social norms. 4. The internet speed seems to increase substantially after midnight. 5. It's a free country. I don't even need reasons. Also, I ran into this cool forum called Nocturnal Underground. Naturally, it's full of sun-loathing recluses and cynical misanthropes like me. How perfect. I registered straight away and found the forum dwellers to be very welcoming. It's not the most famous of internet destinations. More of a tight-knit hole in the wall for a very obscure subculture. We all seem to share a general appreciation for social disconnect, which is cool because I really thought I was the only whack job who couldn't stand dealing with normal people. After all, it's these normal people who are telling me I don't have the right to smoke whatever substances I dang well please, as if it's their business. I'll let you all know how this nocturnal thing works out for me. Peace out. Read. October 21st, 2014. I'm adjusting very well to my new lifestyle. I can already tell that this is the way I should have been living all along. The internet is a far more interesting place during the night. Everything has been fairly normal lately, except for one thing. Yesternight, I received a mysterious private message on Nocturnal Underground. Here's the message copied and pasted for your reading pleasure. To Readman07 from Revelations 666. Subject: necrosleep.net. Congratulations, Readman07. You've been invited to an invitation-only website that will change your life forever. Discover what society doesn't want you to know at necrosleep.net. Use your exclusive invitation code to enter, DCLXVI. Find out what you've been missing your entire life. necrosleep.net. Sounds like a total scam, but it piqued my interest. I couldn't resist going to the site just to see what the hell it was. So when I went there and arrived at a completely empty blank page, I noticed a text cursor blinking in the center, indicating that I could type there. I presumed that this was where I was supposed to type the invitation code, and I presumed correctly. When the home page loaded, I immediately noticed that all of the text was in Russian, besides the title header, which simply said, necrosleep.net, in English. My web browser automatically detected that this site was Russian and offered to translate it for me, so of course I clicked yes. Now this site was clearly on the shady side. Whoever designed it was certainly not well versed in web design, and the site had more in common with a notepad document than a good web page. The background was black, the white text was written in the oh-so-generic Courier font, and under the title header was a row of red hyperlinks labeled as followed: Main, Purchase, Secret, and Credit. Here's an excerpt from the main page. Welcome to necrosleep.net. This website is invitation only. Selected visitors have exclusive access to our special product that will change your life forever. Necrosleep is a product that safely negates the biological necessity of sleep, thanks to our miraculous secret formula. With one pill a day, you will never feel the need to sleep again. Try it for yourself by clicking the purchase link. If Necrosleep doesn't change your life, we will offer you a complete refund. Your astonishment is guaranteed. What a bold claim these people are making. There's no way this stuff actually works. Otherwise, everyone would be taking it. Obviously, I was skeptical, and still am, but I clicked around the site a bit more just out of curiosity. I clicked the secret hyperlink, which took me to another page. Here's the text from said page. Necrosleep is comprised of special and rare ingredients, which cannot be disclosed in order to ensure that our formula stays in private hands. In order to keep our product available, it can only be distributed through alternate means on an exclusive basis. The active ingredient in Necrosleep has been sought after for years by doctors and scientists intending to displace sleep with wakefulness. We've only managed to do what others could not, as permitted by the will of our master. We can assure you with full confidence that our product will change your life, and you will never feel the need to sleep again. Feel free to indulge in our secret. Alternative means. More like black market. Whatever's going on here doesn't appear to be legal, exactly. Not that I care about the law, I just get untrustworthy vibes from this site. Anyways, I continued and clicked on the credit hyperlink. My heart skipped a beat a little when I was confronted with honesty and the most uncanny photo of a living person I'd ever seen. It was an old black and white photo of a tall man in a doctor's coat. If he wasn't standing upright, I'd say the guy was dead. But my guess is that he was just cadaverously unhealthy, and probably blind from the look of his pale, lifeless eyes. Not a trace of emotion could be found in his face. There was a small bit of text below the photo which read as follows. Credit for the pioneering of Necrosleep goes to the brilliant Dr. Hale A. Stan, proxy for our master and founder of the Ukrainian Institute of Occult Medicine. His work lives on. Proxy of our master? Occult medicine? Maybe I've watched too many horror movies, but this isn't your typical snake oil sale pitch. Maybe they're a part of some deranged religious group or something. I admit, I was slightly creeped out, but more fascinated. I clicked the purchase hyperlink out of mere curiosity, once again. Turns out each pill cost some absurd amount of Russian currency, which I found out was equal to about $130 per pill. Ridiculous. Not that I'd even buy them if I could. I immediately left the site. At this point, I'm guessing it's probably a lousy foreign credit card scam, or some weird cult initiative. Either way, it made my day more interesting than it normally would have been. Read. October 22nd, 2014. I posted a thread on Nocturnal Underground about the mysterious user who sent me the strange PM. I found myself wanting to know more about this whole necrosleep.net thing, so as part of my investigation, I sought to find out who the user was. Here's a transcript of the forum thread. Readman07. Hey guys, I hope I'm not disturbing the order of things by posting this in the trolling and harassment section. I don't know where else to put it. I figured this incident of mine might qualify as a spam case if other people are getting the same advertisement messages I am. Basically, the other day I got a PM from a user I'd never seen before, called Revelation666, and the message was an advertisement for some supplement. Has anyone seen this user on the forum before? I sure haven't. If you have any information, that'd be great. Cosmic_trashbin. I don't recognize the username. He must be fairly new or just inactive. What were the exact contents of the message? We could probably get an admin to ban him for advertising. Readman07. Here's a screen cap of the message. Cosmic_trashbin. Strange. Did you actually go to the website? I hope not. It's probably infested with viruses. Just tried going there. It's just a black screen. The invitation code didn't work either. It just gave me a pop-up box that said invalid IP. Readman07. Of course, I went there. I couldn't resist. Thugly Life. Doesn't work for me either. Invalid IP. If it only works for Readman07, maybe it's bounded to his IP somehow. Can you get some screenshots of the site? You've sparked my interest. Here you go. The pages were initially in Russian, so I had my browser translate. Looks shady as heck. Wow, don't even mess with it. You're just asking for trouble by clicking the link. You're probably being keylogged as we speak. Not to mention the product they're selling is probably laced with cyanide. If he's stupid enough to buy it, then, well, the gene pool is better without him anyways. Never trust a Russian. I'm Russian. I find that offensive. You said you were Asian last week. Make up your mind. I leave this thread for 5 minutes and chaos ensues. Everybody calm the expletive down. Of course, I'm not going to mess with it, and these supposed miracle pills are $130 each anyways. Who do you think I am? Johnny Cash? Just because his name was Johnny Cash doesn't mean he was rich or had lots of cash or whatever. Of course he was rich, you dumb expletive. He's Johnny Expletive Cash. Whose bright idea was it to equip this forum with a profanity filter anyways? It's expletive stupid. Before this thread deteriorates any further, let me just say that I put tape over my webcam, just in case something slipped past my antivirus. But it's probably just a credit card scam, or something. I'll do some research on it tomorrow. The sun's been up for 3 hours and I'm running low on energy drinks. I'll contact one of the admins about this. Spam isn't tolerated here. I ought to see if they're willing to uninstall the profanity filter plugin as well. I got a message later from HG Wishingwells, one of the admins, saying that the user, Revelation666, doesn't exist in the database, and that the only way I could receive the message is if the mail client was bypassed somehow. In other words, someone hacked the system just to send me a spam message. What the heck? Read. October 23rd, 2014. I finally got around to Googling necrosleep. The results were mostly irrelevant YouTube channels and defunct 19 Screamo bands from the look of it. But I noticed among the garbage results a link to a post on fastmd.com. The preview said, "Does anyone know if this necrosleep stuff actually works?" So I clicked on it, only to be directed to a page stating that the post you're looking for has been deleted and no longer exists. I should have known. Nothing can ever be that easy and predictable. I returned to the results and had to scan over several pages of them before finally running into an old gaming forum thread where the website necrosleep.net was mentioned. This time the post hadn't been deleted. In the middle of the conversation about maximized crop production in some medieval strategy game, One of the users claimed to have taken necrosleep in order to tend to this virtual farm 24 hours a day. Needless to say, the other forum patrons were highly skeptical. The guy posted a link to the necrosleep.net in an attempt to back up his claim, ultimately failing to convince them because, you guessed it, the site was bound to his IP address. He also had the same invitation code as me, DCLXV1, leading me to believe it's just a formality intended to make you feel special. But that doesn't explain why and how my IP and apparently someone else's got singled out. The bragger then claimed that there was irrefutable proof of his ceaseless wakefulness in his in-game score. In relation to the length of time his account has existed, his score was excessively high. So high, in fact, that it would be impossible for him to attain such a high score in such a short time frame, unless he was playing the game for at least 21 hours a day, which leaves practically no time for sleeping. Despite all that, they attributed his accomplishment to an automatic bot program that operated the game for him during the night. Since cheating in this way is against the game rules, his account was promptly banned, according to the moderator at the end of the thread. Sure enough, in little red letters below the forum avatar were the words, "Banned for bot abuse, 8/12/2006. I couldn't find any more relevant results for necrosleep or necrosleep.net, other than what I've just told you about. Look like these online dope dealers are pretty stealthy. I'm just dying to know what their real motive might be, cause I could think of a million better ways to steal someone's credit card number or peddle quack remedies. It could be a prank, but evidently this has been going on since 2006, at least. Perhaps some jokes just never die." Read. October 25th, 2014. I got another PM from Revelation 666. Am I the only one who gets creeped out by that name? Knowing what I know now, it makes me uneasy to think about the great lengths this user went to contact me, specifically. For some reason, the stealthiness bypassed the system just to send me this message and make me this offer. Here's the message I just received. To Readman07, from Revelation 666. Subject: necrosleep.net/backdoor. Congratulations, Readman07. You have been selected to receive a free 30-day trial of Necrosleep. Claim your exclusive reward at necrosleep.net/backdoor. Find out what you've been missing your entire life, risk-free. necrosleep.net/backdoor. Once again, my curiosity got the better of me. Bracing myself for whatever scam was coming my way, I clicked the link. I was taken to a page asking for my address. Nothing more. I thought about it carefully, knowing fully well that these people likely have malicious intent. But if I just enter my post office box, what's the worst that can happen? Worst case scenario, they send some junk mail or some faulty pills. The point is that I finally know what they want from me. I entered the address. Read. October 28th, 2014. I decided to go back to the thread I posted on Nocturnal Underground and let people know what's up. Sure enough, their reactions were amusing. Well guys, it happened again. Look at the attachment. Don't tell me you clicked on this one too. I did. Then it asked me for my address, but don't worry, I only entered my P.O. box. Are you out of your expletive mind? I take it that you couldn't pursue the admins to disable the profanity filter. No expletive, Sherlock. Apparently there's a huge kick out of watching us quarrel over it. I wouldn't be surprised if H.G. Wishing Wells sent me this weird message just to stir up some controversy around here. Neither would I. The mystery has been solved. Everybody go home. In all seriousness, I had nothing to do with it. I swear on my great-grandmother's life. Swearing on the life of a dead person isn't exactly the most convincing way to plead. I think the joke's gone far enough. HG, did you do it or not? I really didn't do it. The admins and I were generally perplexed when we saw where the message came from. Or should I say, where the message didn't come from. It was certainly not from any registered user on the inside. If they actually send you pills, are you going to take them? You couldn't pay me $1 million to try that expletive. I can personally guarantee you that that stuff is too good to be true. Nothing can make you stay awake forever. I agree with Cosmic. Don't take this any further. Even if they do send me pills and it's not junk, I'm not going to take them unless I find some more information about them. Do you really think I'm that stupid? Chill out, guys. I probably won't update this thread anymore, so follow my blog if you want to know what's up with me. The link's on my profile. Well, that pretty much ruled out the possibility that it's a prank by the admins. I don't think H.G. Wishing Wells would carry on a prank this long, nor would he lie so blatantly. And even if one of the other admins were to prank me, I can't imagine they would do it with some Russian supplement pitch. It's just all too strange. Read. October 30th, 2014. Last night I had a buddy of mine deliver the mail to my doorstep in exchange for some coding work on his flash site. I'll do just about anything to avoid leaving the building, but that's not the point. The point is that I received an envelope with no return address. Yet I immediately knew who it was from. The envelope was old. Very old. Like it'd been sitting in a dusty attic for decades. I opened the stained envelope only to find a smaller manila envelope inside, also rather old-looking. Inscribed on the small envelope was the word necrosleep, and a word of advice on storing the packet in a cool, dark place for maximum potency. The words appeared to have been stamped onto the envelope, rather than printed. I opened the small envelope and sure enough, there were 30 black pills inside, more crude than what you might get from your local pharmacy. Now, before y'all start freaking out, I'm not going to take these. At least not until I can dig up some more reliable information on it. Now, I know that these Russian dope dealers weren't just trying to send me junk mail. The question is, why would they send me pills if they don't actually work? Surely they must want money, which they wouldn't get after a failed 30-day trial. What if they're trying to kill me? I never did have a good feeling about any of this, but the curiosity is killing me. Read. October 31st, 2014. It just occurred to me that I completely overlooked something. I never researched Dr. Hale A. Stan, the guy who apparently had something to do with necrosleep. So I did a quick Google search and found, much to my surprise, that he had his own article on Wikipedia. The article states that Dr. Stan was a Ukrainian scientist and physician who claimed to have been directly involved in the experiments portrayed in the 1940s motion picture, which documented Soviet researchers and resuscitating of clinically dead organisms. Here's an excerpt from the article. The motion picture, Experiments on the Revival of Organisms, depicts various disturbing medical experiments conducted on canines, one of which involves keeping a dog's decapitated head alive with a primitive autojector machine that supplies it with oxygenated blood. The operations in the film were credited to Dr. Sergei Brukhonenko. However, Dr. Hale A. Stan incessantly claimed to be the one who really conducted these experiments and invented the autojector, and that they only credited Brukhonenko because Stan was sentenced to life in prison for illegally conducting gruesome experiments on humans. He believed that because he had consent from his test subjects, albeit through bribery, he had not committed any immoral crimes. The Lenin Prize was awarded to Brukhonenko for the autojector, while Stan remained in permanent imprisonment. It wasn't until they discovered the lost footage of this morbid human experiment that they had him executed by lethal injection. His last words, spoken in an unidentified language, died with him. Dr. Hale A. Stan was rumored to have pioneered a variety of cures for major conditions such as narcolepsy and epilepsy, although the results were not published in a scientific manner. Therefore, the majority of his alleged accomplishments were unverifiable and seemingly occult in nature. The number of people he apparently cured for various incurable afflictions between 1930 and 1940 was in the thousands. Attempts to replicate his documented remedies ultimately failed, leading most to believe that his practices were pseudoscience. It is believed by some that Dr. Hale A. Stan has a following to this day, and that his miracle cures are still being practiced and peddled from Russia and Ukraine. Some claim to have received mysterious emails and offerings pertaining to Dr. Hale A. Stan's work, all investigations revealed no evidence to support these claims. I'll admit it, some of this stuff unnerves me. Morbid human experiments aren't exactly pleasing things to think about, but it seems to me that this guy was just doing what was necessary to advance his research. Maybe he was really onto something. Maybe his cures couldn't be replicated because they were so advanced. I don't really know. All I know is that I received one of these mysterious offers that supposedly didn't exist beyond hearsay. Maybe there's something to this. Maybe I really was selected to receive a gift too great for the masses. Maybe they were dead serious when they said that it could change my life. Read. November 1st, 2014. I'm holding the pill in my hand, ready to take it at any moment's notice. I've been thinking really hard about this. I know it's not the safest thing to do, but I'm a risk taker. If this turns out badly, I don't have much to live for anyways. Life is nothing without danger, and I want to know what the motives of these people are more than anything. I need to know what they want from me. I need to know what I'm missing. There's only one way to find out. Read. November 3rd, 2014. I can't believe it. It's actually working. I haven't slept in 3 days and I don't even feel remotely tired. Holy crap. I've never felt so focused and stimulated in my life. I don't know what's in this stuff, but it works. I don't know how long it's going to work exactly. I'm not getting my hopes up. But the claim is that I'll never need to sleep again. Ever. So far, so good. Read. November 4th, 2014. Still works like a charm after 4 days. But lately the light has been really bothering me, so I duct taped a piece of cardboard over the window. I never liked windows anyways. At night I'll get this feeling that I'm being watched from outside, and it's been making me anxious more than usual. It's easy to think you're seeing something uncanny out the window, until that you realize that it's just your own reflection, distorted by the cheap glass pane. Anyways, that issue has been resolved. I also found something interesting when I was taking my nightly pill. Until recently, I failed to notice a symbol stamped on the inside of the small manila envelope. Yes, the inside. I know I've seen this symbol before, but I can't remember where exactly. It's a downward pointing pentagram with what I think is a goat's head inscribed within it. Maybe they just reused an old envelope and turned it inside out or something. Read. November 5th, 2014. Thanks to one of my followers for pointing out something I didn't realize. The emblem inside the envelope was actually a satanic symbol. Yeah, needless to say, I'm definitely not taking this crap anymore. This sort of thing really creeps me out. I'm done. I wish I would have read that message before I took it tonight. I'll just quit tomorrow. I mean, it hasn't harmed me this far, and I feel great. So maybe I'm just being paranoid. It's just a symbol. Probably a printing mistake or something, but screw that. I'm not messing around with demonic affairs. No way in hell. Read. November 6, 2014. Over the past week, I've been taking one of these pills exactly at 10 p.m. each night. I plan on stopping the pills tonight, but around 10:30, I started getting these horrible headaches, and it got progressively worse. I was thinking maybe it was just me adjusting to suddenly going off necro sleep, so I waited another hour, and I just couldn't take it anymore. I took another pill. I know I could quit if I want to, but I'm starting to think that there's no reason to. I mean, I don't have to sleep anymore. I've been feeling energized. I should just man up and stop being irrational. Read. November 9th, 2014. I've been making a killing with all this free time and newfound focus. I made $5,000 in a single day of trading virtual property. That's not including my online poker proceeds over the last week, which are through the freaking roof. Suddenly, I have this intuitive grasp of numbers that I never had before. I've been living my life in a daze until now. They were right. This is really changing my life. Read. November 11th, 2014. Here's another peculiar story for you guys. I was sitting on the couch, minding my own business, when I noticed a couple of gleaming eyes staring at me from the dark corner. I thought nothing of it, knowing it must have been my cat, Twig, skulking about. Cats have reflective eyes. Who else would it be? I looked away, and at that very same moment, I felt Twig. Twig's wrinkly little self curling up next to me. I looked back to the corner, those beady eyes still focused on me, with Twig clearly at my side. I blinked, and the eyes were gone. Man, my brain really trying to screw with me now. It had to have been mental, yet I remember it with such lucidity. Come to think of it, I should have known it wasn't Twig from the start. My cat's eyes don't glow red. Anyways, let's just hope it's a freak brain malfunction. After all, what else could it possibly be? Read. November 12th, 2014. I'm going to run out of food eventually. Obviously, I could go to the store and restock myself, but the thought scares me. The thought of leaving the safety of my apartment. The thought of social interaction. I now dread it more than I ever have. I never have preferred going out to staying in, but I've never dreaded it this much. I wasn't always so terribly afraid. None of my instant messenger friends have been online lately, and they've stopped upvoting my blog posts. Who's going to get my groceries? What if I have to go out there? I shouldn't be panicking like this, honestly. I'm being stupid. Stop panicking, you idiot. Stop panicking. Read. November 13th, 2014. My friend Jake came online. It was a temporary relief that lasted about as long as it took for him to say, "I'm not dropping off the food until you agree to come out of the house." That was his offer. Entailing that I leave the house and go clubbing with the guys in exchange for help. I declined out of pure fear. He was worried for my health, apparently. I can't blame him for thinking I'm becoming a feral hermit, doomed to die alone in this pathetic slum. But he just doesn't understand. Nobody understands me. At least I'm pretty sure I've got enough food to last till Thanksgiving, if I stretch it. Read. November 15th, 2014. I need to tell you all about another strange experience I had yesterday. I've been leaving my TV on lately, so the silence doesn't irritate me. That children's show Bucko's Garden was on. You know, the show that we all watched as kids until we were mature enough to realize how mindless and nonsensical it was. Yeah, that show. It was playing in the background of my boxy old TV in the corner. Eventually, it distracted me and I found myself zoning out into it for a lack of better things to do. It must have been a Thanksgiving episode, considering Bucko, a guy dressed like a deer with a human face, was in the kitchen preparing sweet potatoes and cranberries. That is about as intelligible as the show gets. Things got a bit weird when he decided to let the anthropomorphic cranberries go into his garden at the last minute, as if they were captive insects. The sweet potatoes weren't so lucky. Bucko sent his bird friends to retrieve a pumpkin pie from the pie tree, and his squirrel friends to collect gravy from the gravy cow, who coincidentally regurgitates mashed potatoes to boot. I told you this show was weird, but that's not even the start. I didn't realize something was off until Bucko pulled out a knife, a full-fledged razor-sharp knife that you wouldn't expect to see in such a benign show. With the other hand, he opened the oven and pulls it out. Not a ham, not a turkey, a roasted human fetus. Oh my goodness. I couldn't believe what I was seeing. How on earth could this be allowed on TV? Were my eyes deceiving me? I don't know, but I turned it off as soon as he started cutting into it. The gore was too much, even for me. I'm still having a hard time believing what my own eyes clearly saw. I couldn't have been dreaming. I haven't had so much of a nap in the last 15 days. I don't even know. Maybe something's wrong with me. I've been forgetting my PC login password, even after I changed it to something else and wrote it down. I forgot where I wrote it down. Forgot it. Down. I can't even think properly right now. Read. November 18th, 2014. I'm not going to lie. I'm scared out of my mind right now. I walked into the bathroom planning to take my first shower in weeks. I never imagined I'd open the door and see anything more than my own reflection in the mirror. Instead, I saw it. Standing behind me, staring, completely motionless. I froze and panicked more than I'd ever have in my entire life. I swear. You don't even know true fear. You don't even have a clue. I can still see it, engraved in my mind. The face. It was demonic. It was gone as soon as it came. I'd say I was just imagining things, but it felt all too real. I'm not going into that bathroom ever again. I'll just go into the kitchen sink or something. I can't handle this. I wonder if these pills are screwing with my head. I need to stop. I need to stop now. I don't even feel safe in my own apartment anymore. I feel like the shadows are watching me. Read. November 20th, 2014. I've tried to stop the pills again, but I had a change of heart at the last minute. Something told me not to, like a voice in my head. I just feel like it would be wrong and somehow my life would fall apart if I stopped. I don't think this is normal, the way I'm living, but I can't imagine it any other way. I can't imagine stepping out into the light or even the moonlight for that matter. All of my instant messenger contacts have been offline since Jake talked to me last, and I don't know if my food will last another week. Twig's getting pretty skinny since I've been eating her cat food to stretch my supplies a bit, but she'll be okay as long as someone comes online by Thanksgiving. Speaking of which, no one invited me over for Thanksgiving. Not even my family. But that's okay. I hate my parents anyways. Screw them. Read. November 22nd, 2014. I've been hearing more voices inside my head. Horrible voices. It's really scaring me and I don't even know what to do. Is it some sort of side effect or something? I can't hear myself think sometimes, like I'm losing control over my own thoughts. And these thoughts I have are so dark. It's not like me to think that way. I would never hurt anyone. I'm not like that. I've tried going to necrosleep.net, again just to see if there's something I've missed about side effects, and it said that the domain is no longer in use. The website was shut down. I don't know what to do anymore. I'm terrified of myself. Read. November 24th, 2014. Knock knock, I yelled through the drafty door, asking who it was. It was my friends, Jake and Douglas. Apparently they wanted to help me after seeing my blog posts of distress, but sure enough it was only under the condition that I open the door and come out. Very suspicious. How do I really know I can trust them? I know I've trusted them for years, but what if they were just earning my trust so they could pull something more sinister later? What if they'd given me drugged food? What if they stabbed me when I opened the door? It just occurred to me that I have no real proof that I can trust them. I can't even trust myself anymore. I don't even know who I am. Maybe my whole life I've been a sadistic freak and I didn't even know it. Maybe my true self is just now coming out. Maybe everyone is evil. Read. November 25th, 2014. The voices won't stop. I used to think that they were malevolent, but now I'm not so sure. Sometimes it feels like they're trying to liberate me. They want me to listen to them desperately. They show me things, horrible things, and yet these things don't seem horrible to me anymore. I'm numb. I don't feel anything. But I know that there's one thing I can do to make me feel again. Part of me says it's terribly wrong, but the voices tell me otherwise. The voices are my friends now. The demons are my friends. Read. November 26, 2014. Twig is in heaven now. I had to do it. I had to know what it tasted like. It was satisfying, but I need more. I thought I'd never leave this room again, but I don't have a choice anymore. I need more of it. The face is getting angry. The voices are getting angry. My head hurts so bad. I need more. It hurts so much. I need more. They're hurting me. I need to feed them more. They need more. I need more. I have to make it stop. I need more. I need more. Make it stop. Read. Police report part 1, Thanksgiving. 11/27/2014. Victim, Paul Murdoch. Aggressor, Reed Murdoch. Police arrived on the scene after a frantic 911 call from Margaret Murdoch, confirmed to be the aggressor's mother. The victim, Paul Murdoch, the aggressor's father, was found in the process of being mauled and cannibalized by the aggressor, Reed Murdoch, whose face and mouth was covered in blood and brain matter. Reed was shot dead after refusing to stop eating his own father, whose skull was torn open entirely. Drug use is suspected to be involved. Police Report Part 2, 11/29/2014. Reed Murdoch's residence was inspected thoroughly by investigators. A hairless, headless, and disemboweled cat carcass was found on the kitchen counter. The cat's blood and bodily fluids were spilled through the house, while the head was found crushed, brain completely removed and nowhere to be found. The apartment was clearly inhabited by an utterly insane individual, given the foul and uncleanly nature of the place. An old TV rested in the corner, turned on, displaying only static and white noise that had no antenna. A suspicious packet of unidentified pills were recovered. The resident's computer and other personal effects were confiscated and await further analysis. Autopsy Report, December 4th, 2014. Subject, Reed Murdoch. The contents of Reed Murdoch's digestive tract was a disturbing mix of human tissue, mostly brain matter, and cerebral spinal fluid. Examination of his own brain, however, was even more disturbing and perplexing. His brain was clearly and visibly deteriorating. The brain tissue was black and red rather than the usual pinkish gray, and riddled with holes throughout. Closer examination revealed thousands small black parasites to be consuming the brain. This was undoubtedly the main cause of the man's insidious psychosis. Testing on the parasites were inconclusive, as they didn't match any known species. Further testing is required. The unknown pills recovered from Murdoch's apartment have been tested and confirmed to contain a vile plethora of uncommon substances, including obscure, highly addictive euphoric drugs, human hormones, and parasitic eggs, presumably meant to remain dormant in a cool place until introduced into the body, allowing them to hatch and eventually invade the brain. It is unclear how he acquired the pills and where they came from, although whoever concocted them surely had malicious intent. Police Report, Part 3, December 6, 2014. Two friends of Reed Murdoch, Jake Fairfax and Douglas Lopez, were questioned at the police station. Immediately, they referred to his online blog, where he allegedly recorded his path to eventual insanity. It was found that the blog mysteriously disappeared off the face of the internet for reasons unknown. They were aware of the unknown pills Reed was taking, claiming they originated from the website necrosleep.net. Investigators later confirmed the website does not exist. Teeth JPEG, written by no author. I'd never been too fond of anyone at my local school. They were all a little too rude and boring for me. You see, I grew up in a small area with not that many people interested in art like I am, so I had to venture off from home and found myself attending a pretty rural art college. It's sort of like a normal university, except it's full of big-headed people. Now, the only reason why I'm here is because I've always wanted to be an illustrator, a children's book designer of sorts. I had always taken keen interests in children's media and classic books such as the Arthur series. So when I was sent to live at this college, I was taken back when I realized a lot of other students were also all fine artists. You know the kind. The kind who like to splatter paint onto a canvas and claim it's art. I'm not really big on that sort of thing, but I don't question it. I settled into my new place pretty quickly. I was sharing a dorm with a few other students. There was myself, a graphic designer named Josh, a film/animator called Lily, and then there's one other guy, called Daniel. Daniel was one of those fine artists I just described to you. His room was decorated with photographs of distorted women, and he always had weird music playing too. It was sort of like trippy 60s music. He also liked to smoke, so his room always smelled like an old ashtray. It was pretty gross. But he was a nice enough guy, and we got along well enough. We soon became a tightly packed group of friends. It was the start of a new term for all of us, and we all just came back from home after spending the summer there. We all unpacked our things and started talking about what we'd done over the summer. "I went hiking with my stepdad. We went on one of those summer camps," replied Josh. "I spent most of my time with my girlfriend. We watched films and went to watch some plays too," Lily said. She spent a lot of time whining about missing her sporty girlfriend, but we were glad that they got some time together. I hadn't really done much worth mentioning. I did the usual stuff. I went out to parties and went on trips with my family. Nothing really that special. I was just about to pipe up and speak when I got interrupted. "I spent my time at the dentist," we heard Daniel say. "My father is a doctor of sorts, so he let me come with him sometimes and explore the hospital. My favorite place to visit was the dentistry. I got to touch and feel teeth. It was cool." We all stared at him a bit confused. Were you even allowed to have random strangers go into hospital rooms, let alone play with the equipment? We didn't really care. We knew Daniel was sort of a guy anyways. He was always known for getting into trouble for the sake of his art. That was always his excuse. We all spent the first couple of days getting grips with our assignments. We all found out what we had to do. Naturally, I had to study with some illustrators and just mimic their style. Josh spent some money on a new Mac to do some more design tests, and Lily had to start playing about with claymation. It was a pretty nice vibe when we'd all be at our dorms talking and giving ideas. Well, at least it was nice until Daniel would start insulting us. He'd never been the same since he came back from summer break. He seemed more cold and distant. We assumed something must have happened to him over the break, so we decided not to press him on it. He never told us anything about his projects. In fact, he never told us what the subject was. It was pretty normal for Daniel to be reserved, but never this much. At night, he'd just make himself some dinner and then shut himself in his room, crank up the music, and not be seen until the next morning. The rest of us would go out places, like go bowling or down to the local gig. Daniel used to happily tag along, but not anymore. One night, myself and Josh had gone out for a long night. Lily didn't want to come with us. She said she wanted to see if Daniel was okay since he hadn't been talking to us for a few days now. We could see her point and complied. She had spent the evening knocking on his door trying to get him to speak with her. Just before we left, we saw his door open and Lily step inside, before it locked again. Brushing it off, we headed out. We got to see a movie and then gone for a few innocent drinks. It was fun, but we didn't get home till around 2 a.m. When we got back, Josh said goodnight and he went straight to bed. I hadn't gone to bed yet. I was pretty dang hungry. Drinking always made me hungry, so I raided our fridge and found some cold pizza from the night before. I was going to go back to my room when I realized something I didn't notice before. Daniel wasn't in his room and Lily wasn't in hers. Due to Daniel's strange new behavior of locking himself in his room until early hours, and Lily never went anywhere without texting us, this was pretty weird. I went over to his door and gave it a knock, and sure enough, the door just opened right up. It wasn't locked or anything. I just assumed that he and her had gone out with some of his Ponzi art friends, but it wasn't like Daniel to leave his door open like this. I have always been nosy, so I stepped inside to see if there were any signs of where he had gone. His keys were gone, his jacket was gone too, but he left his wallet on his desk. The other thing that was odd was that he left his laptop on his bed and it was still on. The screen was still lit up. Curiosity got the better of me. Perhaps this could be my chance to find out about this art project he'd been hiding. I mean, Daniel was a fine artist, so it could have been anything. I noticed that he had a USB plugged in and 2 files on the screen. One was called Dentist Photos and the other file was a singular image named Teeth JPEG. I clicked the Dentist Photos file and there were just a bunch of pictures of people's teeth and plastic models of teeth. It was nothing interesting. I clicked back off the file and decided to check out Teeth JPEG. The image would forever burn into my brain. It startled me so bad that I slammed the laptop shut, shaking as I sat back. I wasn't sure if I wanted to lift the screen again, but I knew I had to, or Daniel would know someone touched his laptop. I lifted the screen again, staring at the image for a brief moment before clicking away from it nervously. I then made a decision. I needed to show this to Josh and Lily in the morning. This was seriously messed up. I mean, I knew Daniel was an artist kind of guy, but this was just insane. I quickly bolted back to my own room and scoured for my USB drive. I eventually found it and darted back to Daniel's laptop where I copied the image onto my USB. I stared at the image for a little while longer. I was trying to dismiss the image as a mere photo manipulation, but there was just something so wrong about it. Perhaps it was the black soulless eyes, or the fact that whoever or whatever this creature was pulling up its mouth in such a weird and disturbing way, it almost looked forced. Like whoever this creature was forced to pose in this way. I shook it off as a mere thought and fixed up the laptop so it didn't look tampered with before I went back to my own room. Soon enough, I heard out the front door the sounds of footsteps, then Daniel's door locking. Daniel was back home, but there was no sign of Lily. The next morning, I waited until Daniel had gone out for one of his lectures, and since it was Friday, Josh and I had the morning off. I decided now would be a good time to show Josh the image. I asked him if he wanted to see what Daniel had been hiding from us, and he confusedly but also eagerly said yes. I brought my laptop into the living room and loaded up my USB, and opened the image for both of us to see. Josh's expression fell into shock before he spluttered. "What the freak is that?" I could tell just by the reaction that both of us were thinking the same thing. This couldn't have been an art project image. There was no way that this would pass as a fine art piece, would it? I mean, sure, art can be creepy at times, but I can't imagine his teachers would appreciate such a creepy and disturbing image. I know that Daniel can be creepy, but this isn't right. We gotta show Lily this. We both cut off one another. We paused briefly before looking at one another with confusion. Where was Lily? I realized that she hadn't come back with Daniel last night, and neither of us had seen her that morning. When I explained to Josh what I did last night, he began to worry. Lily was never the kind just to sneak off and not tell anyone. I picked up my phone and began to ring her mobile. For a while, there was silence. Then, just from Lily's room, we heard a faint buzzing sound. Josh got up and walked into Lily's room rather quickly. He'd never been one to go into girls' rooms, and came back out holding Lily's phone in his hand and a worried look on his face. Lily was gone. We had no way to get a hold of her. Maybe she just got into a lecture and forgot her phone, I sputtered. Josh shook his head, chewing on his lip out of nerves. No, Lily doesn't have lectures on Friday, remember? She'd normally at least say hello to us and take her phone. We know she lives on that thing. She never stops texting her girlfriend. He was right. Lily's life revolved around that phone, so we knew that there'd be no way she'd leave it. Suddenly, her phone lit up. Someone was calling her. We both looked at the phone, then back at one another, before Josh passed the phone to me. I brought it up to my ear before speaking. Hello? On the other end of the line, I realized it was her girlfriend that was calling. I recognized her husky voice. "Ah, Lily, there you are. Thank goodness you're okay. You didn't text me at all last night or this morning. I thought something was wrong." I cringed a little bit, realizing I had to break it to her that I wasn't Lily. As I spoke, I heard her girlfriend begin to get upset. Her breathing was quite heavy, and I could hear the sniffling sound someone makes when they're about to cry. I felt so bad for her, but perhaps she could be my chance to find out anything I could about Lily. "Where is Lily? She hadn't spoken to me since last night. I thought she was just playing a joke on me, but now I don't know." I looked at Josh with a confused stare, and he began to pace around a little bit. I put the phone on loudspeaker and asked her, "Why do you think Lily was playing a joke on you? Did she say anything odd?" Yes, her girlfriend replied. She sent me one message around 1 a.m. I looked at Josh baffled before I asked again. What did the message say? Help me. I looked at Josh with wide and worried eyes. Lily would never pull a prank like that on anyone, let alone her own girlfriend. She always told us how she worried about her girlfriend getting paranoid, how she knew that she wouldn't send messages like this unless she had a reason. I continued to speak with her girlfriend, but I was getting nowhere. So I reassured her that we all knew where Lily was and that she'd be calling back later tonight. Her girlfriend seemed suspicious, but we agreed and put the phone down. Myself and Josh paced back and forth. We had no idea what this could mean. Why would Lily send a message like that? We continued to think for a while and decided until we knew where Lily was that we were going to skip her lectures. We spent a long time thinking things over and began to write down the connections that we could make. Afterwards, Josh read out the list to me so I could think them over. First, Lily goes into Daniel's room around 10 p.m. She's locked in his room. Then we return home at 2 a.m. During that time, around 1:30 a.m., we find out that Lily texts her girlfriend with a message saying, "Help me." You discover that neither Lily or Daniel are home yet. Daniel's door is unlocked and his laptop is still left on. You find the image and then leave. You then return to your room and hear Daniel come home, but not Lily. Lily is still not back home, and Daniel is. What could this mean? I thought it over for a while and then came to the conclusion. I didn't want to make this connection, but it's the only connection I could salvage. Daniel did something to Lily. We have to confront Daniel tonight if Lily doesn't come home between now and tonight, okay? Josh looked shocked, but he agreed. Daniel would be our only chance to find out what had happened to Lily. Later that night, there was still no sign of Lily. We knew that her girlfriend would be calling soon, so we decided to turn off the phone. We didn't want to try to reassure her with false information. We waited until around 6 p.m. when Daniel finally came home. He looked rather startled to see both of us standing in the living room, and he lightly placed his art folder and satchel down against the sofa as we both stood up. Josh spoke to him, and I could tell he was trying to keep his composure. "Daniel, we have to talk. It's about Lily." Daniel's eyes seemed to widen ever so slightly, but nothing I thought was worth overthinking. He tilted his head at us, looking confused as he asked, "Why? Is something wrong?" I shook my head. I didn't want him to think that we were accusing him of anything. We would never get any answers out of him if we just straight up accused him like that. Daniel seemed to be a little on edge, looking away from us as he itched his wrist from under the gray baggy jumper he wore. He pushed his rather dark black bangs out of his face as he spoke. "Then what's wrong? Is she okay?" "I mean, I know that she left her phone here last night, so I suppose there wouldn't be any way to get a hold of her." We didn't say anything. We weren't too sure what to say to him. How were we supposed to ask him if he did anything to Lily without him taking offense? I then realized something. It'd taken me a moment to realize before I spoke. "You just said she left her phone here last night, right? How did you know that?" I could see Josh's eyes light up. He just realized the same thing I did. How on earth did Daniel know that she left her phone behind unless they went somewhere? We already acknowledged the fact that Lily never leaves her phone anywhere, so how on earth did he know that she left it behind? Daniel didn't answer us. He was silent for a while before he pushed past us and walked into his room, slamming the door shut. We walked over to his door, banging on it harshly before he shouted, "Leave me alone! I have coursework to do. I'm sure Lily will show up tonight. Just stop being so paranoid." We just didn't know what to do. Daniel clearly knew more than he let on, but there was no way that we were going to get that out of him. We walked back to the living room and slumped back down. I ran a hand through my hair. What was going on? I then realized that Daniel had left his bags on the sofa. He must have been too flustered to pick them up when he stormed into his room. I peered around to Daniel's door, hearing no sound of him leaving his room yet. I knew soon enough that he'd be coming out to get his bags. In a moment of madness, I picked up the satchel and emptied its contents onto the coffee table. I could see Josh's eyes widen before he whispered to me frantically, "What are you doing?" What if he sees you? I didn't care. I needed to know anything I could about Lily. She was a roommate, but also a best friend. I couldn't just leave this to solve itself. I pushed through the documents and came across what looked like a ticket. I crumpled it up and pushed it into my pocket. Then I found a zipped up document bag. I pushed it into Josh's hands and told him to go hide it. He complied and went and hid it in his room. I then quickly put all the other stuff back into Daniel's bag and rested it up like it looked before. I then got up and walked into Josh's room. I watched Daniel go back to the living room and pick up his bags before he walked into his room again. Josh grabbed the zip-up file from under his pillow as we both sat down on his bed. We didn't say anything. We just read the front cover of the file. Teeth. It sent chills down my spine. I knew whatever was inside would have a connection to the image I found on the computer. But what we saw was nothing we expected. It was a series of photographs. The first one was a photo of what looked like an abandoned room of sorts. The walls were covered in old floral wallpaper and the floor was just damp wood. It looked like it hadn't been used in years. Then the next photos were just a bunch of pictures of tools and plastic tools. We then noticed that the tools were linked to dentistry. You know, like needles and drills. It's pretty creepy. But it was the next photos that made us both drain of color. It was just photos of Lily, smiling. We flipped through every single photo of Lily, and in each one she had a big toothy smile. Such a sweet smile. One of her most distinct features was her front large tooth. Just her left one. We always found it cute, but now it was no laughing matter. We noticed on the back of the photographs were labels, and each tooth on each photo was marked. There were notes on the photos that said things like, remove or replace. It knocked Josh sick, and I was more terrified now than ever. We knew that we couldn't confront Daniel about these photos. It would get us nowhere. We just sat in silence for a long time, staring at the photos with disbelief. I then remembered the ticket I'd found and stuffed in my pocket. I reached into my pocket with a shaky hand and pulled it out, bringing to my vision. It read, Group Ticket 2, Location Station Road, Time and date 28/09/2011, 11:34 p.m. We both looked at each other with firm gazes. That was just yesterday evening. We knew exactly what we had to do. We had to find where Lily was. We never saw Daniel for the rest of the evening, and Josh had become incredibly paranoid. He asked if he could sleep in my room tonight, although I thought it was a bit weird. I didn't mind. I mean, he was scared real bad, so I didn't want to leave him alone like that. When Josh was sleeping, I printed off the disturbing image for reference when I had spent most of the night planning for the next day. I had already emailed our lecturers letting them know that we weren't going to show up because we felt sick, and I checked how far the station road really was. To my surprise, it was only an hour's drive away. So I figured we could take Josh's car to the station road and figure out the location where Daniel and Lily had been from there. The whole time I kept staring at the teeth JPEG image. A horrible thought crept into my mind. I didn't want to think about it, but it could have been a possibility. Was the person in the picture Lily? Every time I thought about it, I'd shake it off, telling myself I was just paranoid. But it would all add up. The timing, the photographs, it would all make sense. I didn't want to believe it, and I certainly wasn't going to until we found Lily. The next morning, myself and Josh got up around 6 a.m. We wanted to be out of the dorm before Daniel woke up, and we made sure to lock our own doors. We also decided to take Lily's phone with us. We didn't want to leave anything behind that would indicate that we were suspicious. We left the dorm and got into Josh's car. I had brought a long, small bag full of different things such as photographs, a flashlight, a camera, and a notepad with a pen. We loaded ourselves into the car and made our way towards Station Road. We were able to pinpoint it with my mobile GPS. When we got there, we found that we were in a rather abandoned-looking area of town. The places were practically deserted. All we could see were tall, crumbling buildings and little empty houses. We'd taken out the photo of the room and began to walk up to each little house. We pressed our faces to the glass to see if we could make out the floral wallpaper, like in the room in the photograph. We spent a good few hours doing this. Nothing. We were getting pretty angry at this point. We just wanted to get Lily back. Josh got so angry that he walked up to one of the houses, kicking it harshly as he shouted from the top of the lungs, "Daniel, you're sick!" Just as he kicked the last wall one last time, we noticed that the wall began to tear, like paper. Josh looked down at his foot and realized that he tore what looked like a piece of painted paper away from a stone wall. He then began to rip away the remaining pieces of paper, only to reveal what looked like an outdoor basement. The doors were rustic and scratched, but we noticed that the metallic handle was clean, as if it had been tampered with. Josh looked over his shoulder to me and I gave him a nod. I took a quick photo of the layout of the basement-like thing. Josh then walks down to the door and gave him a quick push, and to both of our surprises, the doors were only simply blocked by a plank of wood, which Josh was able to push away with ease. We then pushed open the door slowly and cautiously. Who knows what could be kept in here? It was obviously hidden for some reason. If only we knew what was coming, perhaps it would have saved us both from throwing up. As we stepped inside, we were met with a rancid odor. Neither of us knew what the smell was, but we knew that it both made us feel instantly sick. Josh gagged and coughed, covering his face with his shirt. I swallowed back vomit as I continued to walk. I pulled out my flashlight and shined it inside the pitch-black stone room. I continued to walk, and we heard nothing. As we walked further into the room, the smell only thickened. It was getting so bad that Josh threw up behind me. He quickly composed himself and stumbled back upright before we continued. As I looked around, my eyes met with something on the floor that made my heart race and the flashlight drop from my grasp. It was Lily's knitted sweater. It was the sweater she always wore when she went out for pizza or to go bowling. It was the same gray sweater with the little torn threads on her sleeves where she would chew on it. I could see Josh from the corner of my eye. His eyes were just as wide as mine, as all the last color drained from his face. I picked up the sweater slowly, holding it up in front of me, when I noticed that there was a large and thick bloodstain soaking all the way through the jumper. It started thick from the collar and became thinner as it went down the sweater. I was now the one to throw up. I collapsed onto my knees, puking heavily. I didn't know what to do. I didn't even know what to think. I soon maintained myself and stood up again, holding the flashlight as I put the sweater into my bag. Through blurry, teary eyes, I pressed on. I found nothing from where I was standing, and I heard a light switch flicker on behind me as a red light filled the corner of the room, and then I heard him. Josh screamed louder than anything I'd ever heard before. My stomach was in knots as I shined my light to where he was standing. He was standing over a large black table. I watched him just stand there in complete terror, as if he was frozen. I could only imagine what he was looking at, and I truly wished I left it to my imagination. I walked over to his side and laid my eyes on the sight before me. It was Lily. She was strapped down onto the table, wearing nothing but her jeans. Her body was covered in thick layers of tape, keeping her strapped down. One of her arms dangled down to one of her sides, but the other arm was nowhere to be seen. In replacement was just a taped-up stub with stains of blood under it. I could hardly breathe. My stomach was so knotted and my breath so tight, all I could do was stare. I looked up at Lily's face. Her head had been forced back, and we could see that her innocent blue eyes had been violently gouged out, and in replacement was thick black wax that filled up the empty eye sockets. Her nose had been contorted and broken, snapped in many places, but the worst part of it all was her mouth. Her jaw had been forced open, and we could see her mouth had also been filled with the same black wax. Her teeth had been ripped out and misplaced in all different directions. I then noticed how her mouth had been stretched upright, her cheek tearing to reveal more teeth that had been pulled from her mouth. It gave her a contorted, horrible smile. Her face was covered in streams of her own dried up blood. I stared at the hand that was holding her mouth open. It was her own. Her own hand had been stitched to the ripped cheek. The flesh was torn and falling apart under her nails. Her nails were cracked and chipped, with staples and little threads holding the hand in place. The red fluorescent light created horrific shadows and highlighted every grotesque feature that was now on Lily's face. I silently and numbly pulled out the picture of the teeth JPEG and just stared at it, then back to the real thing. They were identical. Josh brought a shaky hand over to Lily's cheek before he collapsed by the side of the table. I could hear him sobbing horrendously by her side before he passed out beside me. I too felt like I was on the brink of collapsing, but something caught my attention. I could feel the presence of someone else coming into the room, but I already knew who it was, and I knew that there was nothing we could do about it. I heard the door slam shut, and then the plank of wood being placed over the door. I heard the sound of footsteps. I heard them inch closer and closer until I could feel his presence behind me. I knew he was there, and that I knew that there was no way out. I heard their voice speak very faintly behind me. "I'm sorry you had to find out this way, but it's okay. It's all for the sake of art." But that wasn't what made me collapse. I knew very well enough that here on out my fate was sealed, but after he finished speaking I heard one more tiny sound that made my heart both ache and my tears only streamed further down my numb cheeks, before my vision faded away from me and my hand slipped away from the table. I could hear Lily choking.